Okay, so interview anxiety. I've got some answers to some questions that I think are pretty common for people as they're preparing for an interview. So the first one is, what's the appropriate dress code? What should I wear? So I've got a couple scenarios for you here. Think about the job that you're applying for. So some jobs have uniforms. That's sort of taken care of. So we'll talk about that on the casual side. But there are jobs like, let's just say you want to be an attorney. Well, if you think about an attorney, when they're in court, they have to wear a suit. When they meet with clients, they're wearing a suit. So you want to follow that behavior. Most jobs these days have more of a casual dress code. So the best thing I can suggest for you is to keep it simple, make sure you're neat and clean, but just wear a blouse or a shirt. Go with a skirt that you like, or a dress if you want, and or a nice pair of slacks. But just keep it simple. If you look in the mirror and you're at all concerned about what you have on, go change. So how early should you show up for the interview? So we're going to talk about showing up physically, and we're going to talk about interviewing for a remote job. So if you're showing up for the job, you want to, again, I've said this before, if you've watched any of my videos, leave early, leave extra early. Don't let traffic be your excuse. Get there early, sit in the parking lot and wait. Go into the establishment a few minutes ahead of time, not too early, and you should be fine. If you're interviewing and it's remote, then the best thing to do is log in at the start of the interview time. Do not log in early. And the reason I say that is because you can tend to make the interviewer nervous or a little frazzled if you're logging in early. So just log in at the start time. So when you get there, is it acceptable to shake hands with the interviewer? And so I will tell you, in this post-COVID environment, I would totally play that one by ear. You may not even be comfortable shaking people's hands, but kind of follow the lead of the person as you meet them, and they'll indicate to you whether you should do that or not. What are your best answers to give when they ask you about your weaknesses or your areas of opportunity? So on this one, I will tell you, I feel like as you go through the job description and you're creating your examples of how you demonstrated those skills or behaviors, I always say, have at least 2 examples for each. I really prefer 3. But you also always want to make sure that you're able to not only tell the story in a positive way, but tell it in a negative way. They do have those questions where they tend to lean toward the negative side. So my suggestion to you is to be able to share, hey, something that went wrong in that scenario, but always be able to say, but this is what I learned from it, or this is how I recovered, or if you were actually able to save the day in that situation, then talk about how you did that. But those are my best suggestions for you. We all have areas of opportunity, so don't shy away from that. You just don't want to talk about anything where you like totally screwed up something. Don't share that example. Should I maintain eye contact during the interview? And yes, you should. Whether you're with the person face to face or it's remote, it's okay to look down at your notes every now and then. The interviewer totally understands why you're doing that. And then the other thing is, when it's remote, the interviewer will let you know if for any reason you can complete the interview off camera. Most of the time that will not be the case, so follow their lead on that one. Can I take notes during the interview? Yes, you certainly can. Again, the interviewer understands why you're doing that. I will caution you on, don't take notes to the point where it feels like you're delaying the interview. Sometimes people want to write down the question that they've been asked. You can do that. I suggest that you write down those key words that you heard in the question, but just don't let the writing go on so long that you're actually delaying the interview or you have this uncomfortable moment. Is it acceptable to ask about salary and benefits? So I will tell you that most postings should provide at least a salary range for you. I suggest that you get through the interview, focus on making your impression, but my rule of thought is that you wait until you've been offered a job to talk about salary and benefits. If you get to the point where you are offered the job and you feel like you want to negotiate any of that, that's totally fine. I had a peer years ago that told me everything is negotiable, and I've never forgotten that. So if you want to do that, my suggestion is be prepared, be respectful, also be able to really quantify why you think you deserve whatever it is you're asking for, if it's more money or more benefits. But as long as you have your ducks in a row, go ahead and state your case. How should you handle those unexpected questions, or what you may feel like is a difficult question? So again, I'm going to refer back to you. This goes back to preparing and doing the best job you can to have as many examples as you can. And then if you get that, that's going to happen. You're going to have that unexpected question. So have your notes there so that you can refer to them. Try to find an example that really, so that you're able to answer that question, and take your time and just try to do the best that you can. But every now and then you will have that unexpected question. But if you have really thought about it and you know your story, you're going to be able to come up with something. So how far back do you go with your examples in your work history? So I'm going to give you two different scenarios here. If you are applying for a job with a company that you're already working for, try to use the examples from your most current job as often as you can. But think about it, there's going to be some experiences that happened in a previous role, and there's nothing wrong with that. When you talk about that, do not make it time bound. Don't say 3 years ago I worked on this project. Don't say that. Just talk about the project. This is sort of like riding a bike. If you know that skill, if you've demonstrated that behavior, you know it. You don't lose it. It doesn't go away. And then if you're applying for a job with a company that you've never worked for, the recruiter has your resume. They can see your work history. So they sort of know where some of those examples are coming from. So the rule of thumb there is still use your most recent examples if you can, but if you need to pull something from a previous job, do that. But just don't refer to how long ago it was. The other thing is, think about, don't refer to maybe process or technology that's outdated. Don't talk about something that nobody uses anymore. That will really, stand out as being something that's going way too far back. So just remember that. So is it okay to repeat the question? I would say yes. Most interviewers understand why you're doing that. Most people do it because they want to make sure, they want to hear it themselves, and they want to make sure they understand what was presented to them. It's totally fine. So last but not least is, what kind of questions should you ask at the end of an interview? And I will tell you, I probably am a little bit different with this one. And if you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I am a proponent of, as a hiring manager, I expected people to have done their research, to understand the job, maybe talk to some people in that role. Look at the company. You can see the company's, everybody's pretty transparent these days with their culture. You can look on their website. So you should have done a lot of research beforehand. I would use that precious amount of time that you have at the end of an interview to literally say to the person, hey, I don't have any questions, but can I share something with you? Share that little tidbit about yourself that's going to resonate with them. Let them know how excited you are to work with them and how you can make an immediate impact, and name a couple skills that are going to allow you to do that. This is what I call your 1-minute elevator speech, and I have a video that speaks to this, so check it out. But that's what I would use that time for. If you really have a couple of valuable questions that you need to ask them, but try to slide in that elevator speech, and it will leave that impression with the interviewer. So what other questions do you have? Put those in the chat. Let's chat about it. Let's share and let's help each other out. See you in the next video.